Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Real Dr. Doolittle Show with Val Hart. I'm your co-host, Scott Patton. Hey, Val, how are you doing today?
Hey, Scott, I'm great.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome. So I'm really excited because your latest albums are now in the iTunes store.
Yay!
Yeah, way to go.
Yay, thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be offering that to more people, and I mean, it's such important information that all animal lovers need to know. And what we've got up is the Introduction to Animal Communication Homestead course. It's a fabulous class on how to connect with animals, and going to learn 3 simple steps on how to that anybody can use to do that. And then I also have my Discover 5 Secrets about animal communication, and that's a wonderful class also. So I'm so delighted. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah.
We'll make sure on our public podcast page and also on your blog that you've got links to both of those. So
you bet.
You just head over to animaltalk.mypodcastworld.com and click on it and see, or do a search on Val Hart in iTunes,
right?
and they'll both come up because that's how I found them.
Oh, great, good, thank you, thanks so much. Yeah, and by the way, if anybody's listening wants to check those out, they do come with a special offer. So each of them has their own special offer that you'll want to check out. It'll be good. You'll love it. So, thanks.
Cool. So you were telling me before we came on the air about a young lady who totally changed the livestock industry.
Yeah, Temple Grandin. What an awesome woman. She's autistic. You know, she has her own HBO special that's been running, this last month or two. And she's got a number of books out, and she's just remarkable. I love what she does and the way that she approaches animals. In fact, I actually teach one of the techniques that she uses to such great effect. To teach you how to become an animal, how to feel from their viewpoint, how to know what it's like to be them, to pick up their thoughts, their emotions, their instincts, to see the world through their eyes, and that's really what Temple seems to be able to do so brilliantly well. And she looked at the cattle industry and how that we, our livestock industry is not known for humane treatment. It has not been known anyway.
Right.
That is changing, thank God. But it's a tragedy, how they treat the animals. And Temple comes up and she says, we owe these animals a lot, gratitude and humane treatment because these are the animals that feed us, And so she started looking at the world through the cow's viewpoint and finding out how to help them feel safe and comfortable and, not alarmed and not in terror. And, the old methods were so insane. They would, basically manhandle and brutalize these poor animals in so many ways to get them in through the process and, until they became butchered and turned into food, meat for us to eat.
Right.
So, anyway, so in that process and all their, hurting them through the process, a lot of them, the cows would die.
Right.
They would panic. They would get trapped in the chute and run over each other. They would drown in the the cleansing liquid. I've forgotten what it's called, but they would drown in the in that solution, so there was a lot of attrition, of animals dying. And then, of course, by the time they were finally killed and then butchered, they were in a total panic, distress state. Which
high adrenaline, which is
high
great
adrenaline.
for us to eat.
That's right. Not so good for anybody. So, she came at the whole thing looking at it differently, and it's like we offer gratitude, for our food. I mean, the whole concept of praying over, your food and giving thanks before you eat it. The Indians, when they hunted and other, smart hunters, they would also be connected with nature and ask for for an animal to feed their tribe, or their family, and then they would hunt with dignity. They would respect, the animal sacrifice that would then feed their family.
It's funny you say that, because I went, as we were kind of researching what we'd be talking about today, I went to one of her websites, and she's got a page on recommended basic livestock handling safety tips for workers. And the first tip, she says, a single lone agitated steer is very dangerous. Many serious cattle handling injuries are caused by a single agitated steer or cow. One man received 27 stitches after he got in the crowd pen with a lone animal. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then the next three words made me think like this guy deserved every one of those stitches. And teased it. Like,
oh, geez.
Talk about like having a bad attitude towards the animal.
That's just insane.
Like, you get in with this massive animal and you tease it, and you're surprised when it like does something, right? Right.
It's when it wants to, stomp your face into the dirt. I mean, it has every right to do such a thing.
Yeah.
So, it's just crazy,
And it just goes on and on with different things like the importance of reducing noise when handling livestock, and it's interesting because I think that on that particular note, we live in a very noisy environment. Like, it's always surprising to me. We've got fans going, we've got ambulance sirens going, and even crossing this, my pet peeve here is, crossing the street, we've got cross the street coming out of the speaker where the little light hand is, or the walking guy, and I'm thinking, or little beep beeps, right?
Right.
And I could understand if it was in an area that had, a lot of blind people or even one blind person, but and I think that would probably be a good thing. But I get the impression it's, wherever the guy that sells that type of traffic signal to the city can the better salesman he is, the more they are all around, and it just adds to this beep 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 going on, right? So
and it's amazing the chronic noise, it creates chronic stress. I remember hearing, can't remember who it was, but they had done some studies about the actual sound that we're exposed to. Sound is a frequency, right?
Yeah.
And everything around us, all of our instruments, our, air conditioning, the fan, the light, the computers, the, cell phones, the radio waves, the refrigerator, everything, microwave, everything, everything has its own frequency that it puts out and it emits, and it's there, and we're hearing it all the time, even if we're not consciously aware of it. And a lot of the frequencies that we're being bombarded with constantly, there's a lot of controversy about that, about whether they cause cancer, make us sick or something, which I think they do in a lot of respects anyway. And our animals, are hearing that because their range of frequency is so much greater than ours that they can hear, and are in touch with. But anyway, what they found is that most of the frequencies we're being bombarded with are actually on a minor key, which is a discordant, disharmonizing, degenerative energy frequency, which is, I thought, fascinating. So, if we take the energy or change or shift the frequency, I know you know the idea of fingernails on chalkboard. How things just kind of grate on your nerves.
Yes.
Well, our animals are so much more sensitive to that than we are, but we're still. It contributes to our overwhelming chronic stress and disability and disconnection. So I love that Temple brought that out so clearly in her work. Yeah.
It's quite amazing. And for those people that don't know Dr. Grandin, she didn't talk until she was 3.5 years old. And her basic form of communicating, and mostly communicating frustration, was by screaming, peeping, and humming. And in 1950, she was diagnosed with autism, and her parents were told she would be institutionalized. And she really felt that she was groping her way from the far side of darkness. And She came up with a book, Emergence, labeled Autistic, which stunned the world because until its publication, most professionals and parents assumed that an autism diagnosis was virtually a death sentence for any sort of achievement or productivity in life. And she's become a prominent author and speaker on the subject of autism. And she says she's read enough to know that there's still many parents, and yes, professionals too, who believe that once autistic, always autistic. And it's meant, sad, sorry lives for many children. And it's incomprehensible that the characteristics of autism can be modified and controlled. However, she feels strongly that she's living proof that they can be.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was quite a journey that she went through in her school years. And but she was lucky, and I think this is a really important point, is that she found a mentor. And that's one thing that you talk a lot about, Val, in terms of having good relationships with your pets and your animals. Is it's really important to have a mentor who knows kind of where you've been, what you've been doing, recognizes what's kind of going on, and is able to guide you. And
right, guidance, support, coaching. It's amazing to me how sometimes one simple new concept or a way to reframe or reformat an experience makes a huge difference. It's like an entirely new world, will open up just by that one thing, and that's what mentors do.
Yeah. And so what happened with this mentor and Dr. Grandin is she developed her talents, and she started a very successful career as a livestock handling equipment designer. And there are very few of those in the world. And she has now designed the facilities in which half the cattle are handled in the United States. And she's consulted with firms such as Burger King, McDonald's, Swift, which is a meat packing, and a lot of others. And that blew me away when to think, here's this autistic person who has designed, basically livestock plants or facilities, and and not just design them, but her facilities are where 50% of the cattle are handled now, and hopefully she can get that to 100%, because my impression of these places are that they're not really very pleasant, right?
Well, they're not pleasant, and they're not even smart, because if you think about it, if you're losing livestock, just getting them out of the truck and onto the in through the lot and into the butchering facility, you're losing them. They're breaking legs. They're, goring each other. They're trampling each other. They're drowning, stuff like that. I mean, that's not smart. That's not efficient. It's not humane to anybody, including the people that are running the show. So I'm so hoping that the others wake up and pay attention also.
Yeah, that's right.
Because Temple's methods not only are humane and offering respect and dignity to the animals, which she's absolutely right, we owe them. We owe them our respect and our compassion and dignity. Death with dignity. Anyway, so it just opens that whole thing up, and it makes it safe for the handlers, safe for the cattle. They go through the process that she's designed for them in such a way that's not alarming, that is completely natural, or not completely, but it mimics a very natural environment. So there you go.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, and it's a great story because she's changed the world.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting. I was thinking about the idea of autistic, people, but also autistic animals. By the way, you may know this, Scott, but autism is on a significant exponential rise in this country.
Yes.
A lot of, so many children now are autistic. And I think it goes back to a lot of these topics like the chronic noise, the chronic stress. And animals are also autistic. They also have problems. They feel too much. To me, it comes down to feeling too much, and then brains and nervous systems being wired either not completely connected or wired differently, than the rest of us. They simply, it's like, I remember a little dog I worked with. The woman brought me in, and this dog, it never seemed to learn. It's like a little Jack Russell or something. And it never seemed to learn. It's like it would literally run into the wall. over and over and over. It's like the lights are on, but nobody is home.
Wow.
You know, this dog is not, I don't know. It's like we've tried everything and just doesn't seem to get anything. And so I worked with the dog and actually did some brain work. You know, the type of healing work that I do is very wonderful and somewhat unique in that I can actually rewire brain, you know, a nervous system, and, you know, turn areas of the brain on that have been like disconnected or turned off, and recover from stroke and other types of brain injuries. And what happened is that I worked with the dog, talked to him, helped him really get back in his body and be actually present and aware consciously.
Wow.
and reconnect with his world. And it didn't take a lot of time or effort on our part, and it opened up a whole new world for him. And they said that after that one session that all of a sudden he's like doing things differently, not running into the walls anymore. He knows where this is. He knows how to get what he wants. He knows, and he's responding to training now, which is really awesome.
That is great.
It's really cool.
Well, you remind me of my friend's dog, Milo, who, when I first met them, she would carry him up the stairs to the bedroom.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know, he can't go up himself. Whatever. Oh, he's old. He's this and that and everything else, right? And of course, when she went away and she asked me if I'd look after Milo for a week, and of course I have stairs, and I thought, I'm not carrying this dog up and down these stairs.
Yeah.
And it was funny because he kind of looks at the stairs, and then he kind of looks around, and he looks at the stairs, and then down he goes the stairs, right? And he wants to get back in, up he comes the stairs, right? And you know, the odd time you have a little problem near the end where he gets like to I saw him actually the other day. He got to the third from the bottom, and I thought, okay, I'm going to jump down, and he jumps off the third step. And basically lands on his head. Oh. It's not graceful at all, right? But he pops right up, and his tail is high in the air, and he struts around. I got down the stairs, right? So after a week with me, we get back to her place, and I don't know if I said something or what, and it was just, or she went up the stairs, expected me to carry him up or whatever, and I didn't. And then he just up the stairs he went, right? Wanted to come down the stairs he went, and she'll still do it the odd time, but most of the time he's going up and down the stairs at her place just as much as he's going up and down the stairs at my place, right? Right. But I was thinking about, how we train our animals, and just like you were talking, right? Sometimes we train we reward the bad behavior. Not that that's a bad behavior, but he was at the point where he would just sit there and wait forever to carry him up, right? And it's like,
he was taught not to do that, and and he got lots of reward for doing that. So of course, why not? Yeah, why not do that? Yeah.
And of course, she's like trying to go up and down these stairs, and she had a bad knee, and then she had this dog. Yeah, it was just like, don't do that. He's quite capable, right?
What's wrong with you? Yeah.
But he's old, and I sometimes think that that he's senile, but he can't see, right? Like I have a sliding door that I put him out onto my balcony, and then he goes down the stairs, and he'll go down, he'll come back up, and he's waiting to get in, and so I go to open the door, and he tries to go in the side of that didn't open, right? Oh. Like it's two parts, right?
Yeah.
So he sees the door kind of slide a bit, and he goes, and of course he hits his nose against the glass and realizes he's in the wrong place, and then he comes around and comes in, and I'm just sort of watching this thinking like, you've been here like for years now, and you still don't know where the door is.
Well, I think we need to talk to Milo, don't you?
Yeah.
I think we do. Yeah, right. Milo, what's going on with this?
Are you asleep or what? But he doesn't do it very often, just the odd time, right?
Okay.
And
I'm going to check into him right quick, Scott. I think this would be cool. So hold on one second.
He's not with me right now, so.
Yeah, that's okay. Remember that, telepathy is over distance, and it doesn't really matter where they are. So I can find him wherever he is. So if you would, have a nice soft breath and have an image of Milo very clearly in your mind. feel your connection with him. I know you actually enjoy the boy, so he's a pretty sweet dog.
He is. I took him over to a friend of mine's the other day, and my friend just fell in love with him. He just said, "Oh, what a nice little puppy." I said, "He's 15
What a
years
great
old."
dog. Oh, my God, yeah.
But he looks like he's small.
He's 150 in people years, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We can give him a little bit of slack.
So I'm just connecting in with him right now. I'm introducing myself, telling him that I'm with you, and we're chatting and talking about him, and we are really appreciating and loving him very much. So everybody can do this with us, actually. Scott, go ahead and describe Milo so people can have an image of him.
Well, he's got a lot of hair. He's we don't really know what type of dog he is. He's a small dog. He fits very easily if I put my arm under him and I can hold him. And he loves to be scratched and petted and rubbed. And he'll come up to me and he'll put his front paws to get about halfway up my thigh. And I'll scratch under the chin, and he'll almost like twist his head, 180 degrees around.
Yeah, to help you get the right spot, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Never barks. He's got a nice little furry tail that pops up at the back.
Furry tail. What color is he?
He's a number of colors. There's a little bit of black, but mostly tan. Sometimes lighter, sometimes darker. He's very hairy. He loves it when Omida will pull the sleep away from his eyes.
Okay.
I don't do that.
Okay.
I don't even ever notice it. She notices it, and she'll just pull it away, and you can just see he's like, "Oh, that's so good."
Yeah.
Floppy ears.
Okay. Color of eyes? Is he brown-eyed?
I would say black.
Black eyes. Okay, so if you have that image in your mind, so we're just connecting back in with him. And I'm just going to ask him, I'm going to tell him that, you were telling me about him having trouble with the door and running into that glass door. I'm going to ask him and see why he did that. What is it about that?
Yeah, and it was only once or twice.
Okay, just
funny thing.
Yeah, it is funny, isn't it? He says he can't see the glass. He can't tell that it's glass. Okay, so it's like when he looks through there, it's like he can see through to the other side a bit, and I'm also picking up a problem with his vision. Yeah. So he's actually going. He has cataracts. Is that what he has?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, it's a hazy kind of thing. Yeah. He can see things, but it's kind of hazy. He can see light and dark. He can see shapes, but he can't see clearly the edges of things. He can see closer to him, but not real close. So his focal point is about 2 feet in front of his nose. So if it's closer to that, it blurs. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's really the answer there. Part of it is a visual problem, and the other thing is that he can't quite tell that it's glass, and he's just kind of going on about his business and moving forward, and then he hits it. He says he always feels so stupid when he hits it, and then he remembers that he has to come over closer to you to go in.
Right.
I'm also picking up there's a body locomotion problem there, so he has a little trouble balancing himself and moving forward. It's like he gets moving forward, and he can, keep up the momentum, but stopping and starting is a little more harder for him.
Okay.
A little more problematic. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's
all right.
good.
Okay. Well, that was kind of fun. I'm just going to thank him for sharing that with us. Maybe we can figure out how to make it better for him, a little more easy. Might just want to dirty up that window.
Yeah.
Or cover it kind of down in his viewpoint so that he can't see through it, and that would be very simple for him to know immediately. I mean, you've seen the commercials where they clean the glass. My own father, in fact, I've done this myself. We had glass sliding doors, and I can't count the times that we tried to walk through it.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah, even to the point of breaking the door, of shattering the glass. So we're laughing at poor little Milo, but we do it too, Oh, that's funny.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got one more fun story for you about cows, and then it will finish up here. And it's I was associated with. In fact, I was leasing a horse years ago. His name was Taylor, and his owner Bonnie lived. She was actually the foreman of a small ranch here outside in the hill country outside of San Antonio, and they had longhorn cattle, longhorn steers, and the longhorns. These were older, more mature steers, and they had their horn span was at least 6 feet. I mean, these were major longhorns. They didn't have short racks, short horns at all. They were like seriously, and then needle sharp, on the ends, and they were basically pretty wild. They weren't very. You couldn't really handle them. They'd never been really handled or worked with. They just hung out in this large pasture. And one day, in fact, they were really pretty dangerous, So one day, Bonnie, and she's, it's a 90-pound thin girl, is walking around and stuff, and she notices one of the cattle is limping. And when she went over to try to see what was wrong, somehow he had gotten barbed wire wrapped around his hind leg.
Oh, no.
Yes, and it was digging into the leg, and of course, the barbed wire was gouging and, was very, it was ripping and tearing, and if it continued, of course, it would kill him because, of infection and, gangrene and whatnot, right? So intervention he needed intervention.
Right.
And so the question was, well, longhorns are known to be very skittish, and this pair were very skittish, and so anybody trying to approach them, catch them, something was going to be a major deal. And so she decided to do what I had taught her, which was to communicate with the longhorn. And so she went out there to a safe distance, and she told this cow what she needed to do to help him, which was basically get the wire cutters, her heavy gloves, to kneel down around his hind leg and in the groin, area, and carefully unwrap that wire and cut it off of him, right?
Yeah.
And that in order to do so, she would be, certainly in a vulnerable position. I mean, he could gore her, he could trample her, he could kick her, into the kingdom come. But she couldn't help him if she did that, right? If he did that, she couldn't help him. And so, anyway, she told him, the story, and she imaged it in her mind the way that I teach in my programs. And so she showed him to stand stock still, to give her a signal that would tell her that he agreed with her plan and would cooperate. And the signal, I think, was that he would duck his head and look at her and then present his body, and stand stock still, not moving a muscle.
Wow.
And he did that. And so he did exactly that, and she said, okay, and she's the only one there. It was it was like very scary. As no one was there to even see what was going on, but it was like an emergency, so, and no one else was available. So she went up and she got the wire cutters, got her gloves, and went back out there, and he's standing like a statue, So she walks over to him, and she kneels beside him, and she carefully grabs the wire and digs it out of his flesh. It had to... And she's cutting bits of it, and she's carefully wrapping it, unwrapping it, taking it off, pulling it away, and all of this stuff. And when she had it completely unwrapped and undone, she stood up and she thanked him, and she backed out of his way. And he touched her with his nose, and as a gesture of thank you, appreciation. And then he carefully walked away from her and then trotted off to go be back with his buddy. And it was a remarkable story. It's all true, absolutely true the way she told it. I wasn't there either to see it. But, when you respect the animals and you tell them what is going to happen and you engage their participation and even their agreement, to cooperate and to assist you, what needs to be done, then everything changes. The whole dynamic of the relationship will shift, and it's almost miraculous, and it's an amazing experience, and I hope every animal ever gets to experience it. So
yeah, wonderful story.
Yeah.
Wow, that was great.
Yeah. So anybody can do it. Once you learn the basics of how it works, what you need to do, how to set it up properly, and maybe get some coaching or mentoring on it. And I hope everybody listening today does that, because it makes such a huge difference in your life, and then the lives of the animals. As they need us to listen to them, to hear their voice, to respect them, to see the world through their viewpoint, and it just makes all the difference in the world. So,
cool.
Yeah.
So if you want to know more about Val and the wonderful work that she's doing, head over to www.valhart.com. And if you want to listen to some of her courses, you can get them on iTunes now. Just do a search on Val Hart in iTunes, and they'll come up. You'll see Discover the 5 Secrets About Animal Communications, and Introducing Animal Communications albums. And we're very, very excited about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Well, share that with Milo's person.